It's been 9 months since I started eating a carnivore diet. And I wish I could say I was skeptical when I started, but I really wasn't. When it comes to food, I'm almost addicted to trying new things. And honestly, I wanted things to go super well. Reduced anxiety, better sleep, weight loss, carnivores know what I'm talking about. But as the weeks went on, the results I was getting were confusing, to say the least. And if I hadn't committed to sticking with this thing for a full year, I don't know if I would have lasted this long. So hello everyone, my name is Ariel, and we're gonna talk about the last 9 months I've spent on a carnivore diet. So when you've been in a community like this for this long, which I have, I've really tried to keep myself involved with people, talking to people as much as I can handle it. Sometimes the forums are a lot, but I've tried to stay in the conversation, not just doing this by myself. And you kind of see typical results. They sort of look like you've got the people who jump right in and they just excel. Like something about this diet clicks in, no problem. They have great energy, you know, their anxiety, their depression, any of their mental, what's a good way to put that? Instabilities? Am I gonna get canceled for saying that? Anything that's emotionally weighing heavily on them, that sort of goes away. And then there's people who they struggle a little bit, but they kind of even out after their body gets keto adapted. So maybe they get really tired in the beginning, a little sluggish. Maybe the routine doesn't fit as well, or they take a while to sort of adapt to the lifestyle, but then, you know, they're cool and they're going and it's fine. And then there's people like me. And we take a little bit. It took me 4 months to figure out what was going wrong. And a lot of people will just quit by then. Like, I think a fair amount of people, if they were experiencing what I was experiencing, would have walked away. I just had a pretty high level of commitment. I said, you know, I committed myself to 1 year of doing this thing. And I was like, I'm going to buckle in and I'm going to do it. And luckily I did it at the same time as my dad. And in this situation, having an accountability partner really helped. Sometimes accountability partners don't help because they're more like enabling partners. So they're people who are going to want to support you, whatever decision you make. It's not a big deal, you know? And then I just realized I have a whole plate of food and I'm not eating it. And then there are accountability partners who are willing to call you out like, yo, yeah, but you made this commitment. My dad is like that. And that's a very helpful accountability partner. And basically, I remember one time I was just slunk down in my kitchen, like on the floor, head against the like cabinets, miserable. My dad comes in and I'm like, I don't know why this isn't working for me. Like I'm a fan, you know? I'm like, I want this to work so bad and I'm struggling and I don't know why. And he really was like, hey, just give it a little bit more time. Can you hold out? You know, can we hit the 6-month mark? You know, and that kept me going. And so that moved me into, if I'm gonna be in this for 6 months, I'm gonna have to keep investigating. I'm gonna have to work harder to figure out what is going wrong, because people stake their reputations on this diet working for everyone. Proper human diet it's not like proper human diet for some of us. Like Ken Berry, Dr. Chafee, sorry, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chafee. Sorry, Ken. My God, you're like my country uncle. I forget to call you doctor. Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Baker, Steak and Butter Gal. Okay, I'm gonna stop rattling off names. They're staking their reputation that basically everyone can do this diet. And here I am, their little fangirl, and it's not working. And that's a little unfair. There were some immediate improvements. There were some things that worked right away for me. So first of all, awesome energy. Like, I didn't need naps. No matter what time I went to sleep, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be awake. I could just go. Like, I don't need coffee. And I had to wean off of coffee in terms of the addictive nature of wanting to drink coffee, but I didn't need it to be awake. I wasn't drowsy. Very quickly, I just had burnable energy all the time. And to this day, I still have that. Even if I'm sleepy, even if I'm worn out, I'm not lethargic. And I don't feel like I have to just go to sleep. And when I wake up, I'm not refreshed. It's very odd for me to wake up and not feel refreshed. And it's very odd for me to get to the end of the day and I must go to sleep. That means I've been working really hard. Because on a usual day, I have very clean, usable energy all the time. My car, why did I say clean, usable energy? I run on electricity. Ketones, it's like electricity for your brain. What am I even doing? Oh yeah, my moods. So my moods evened out. So when I was talking about people who have emotional instability, God, why is the internet such a scary place? You have to censor everything you're going to say. People have like issues with emotional instability. Will relate to this. I have kind of been under the thumb of my emotional waves for the last, I would say my whole life, emotions have always been my, they've always controlled my choices. But in the last 5 years, I've gone through some experiences where my emotional stability was extraordinarily out of my control. And I have done a lot of work over a lot of years to get it back into my control. And I mean therapy, medications, I've learned about somatic experiencing. I took 6 months to just learn about how do emotions sit in your body so that I could really work through the feelings that were taking over my life. At one period of my life in the beginning of the 5 years, I was so overcome with anxiety and panic, I could not work because I just couldn't show up. I didn't know if I was going to make it through a day without the anxiety getting so high. I couldn't do anything, And I've come a very long way using only methods that are, talk therapy and somatic experiencing. Medication helped me in the beginning sort of break the cycle. And then after that, I walked away from medication and was trying to use only natural methods. I did try different food methods, but once I started carnivore, I will advocate for keto for anybody who has anxiety for the rest of my life. Even if they don't do carnivore, I will advocate for low carb if you have mental or emotional instability. The change that it has made in my life is astounding. And it's kind of like, well, why didn't you talk about that in the beginning, Ariel? But the thing is, the stuff that was happening that wasn't working was so upsetting that it was hard to see how far I had come emotionally. Also, I think your emotions, when things are good, it's way easier to focus on the bad stuff, So my emotions had evened. Like, yes, I still had some highs and some lows, but like if my peaks were like this, these are the lows and these are the highs, once I started carnivore, boom. And if I started to get really anxious or started to get really angry or started to get depressed, it's like the intervals shortened as well. So, I'd have a feeling and I'd feel angry, which used to just light me up. I could engage the logical, unemotional side of my brain so quickly to be like, oh, I'm angry. This is how I need to logically handle this. My ability to work my way through my anxieties, my upsets, my disturbances, it's light years different. And if I wasn't going through the more negative side effects that I was having in the beginning, I would be preaching this on the internet all the time. Or at least I would have been preaching it like way earlier than now. We're at the 9-month mark. If I hadn't been experiencing what I have been experiencing that was negative, I would be online being like, y'all, you guys need to get on this because carbs are wrecking our mental health. And I am a living example. Once I took carbs out, and every time I let carbs back in, I can tell. I can tell. Energy-wise and emotionally, I can tell. So yeah, life just got easier. I became a better person to be around. Like, I'm a generally nice person, but I am also a moody diva, and I'm a much easier diva to live with now. And I need less help, I need less attention and making, I need people to check in on me less than I needed them to before carnivore, and I could go into that. I could talk about my experiences with anxiety for a very long time. So if you guys are interested, leave in the comments and I'll make a video talking about that. So I've talked about the good things. Let me eat this little piece of bacon because I am hungry. I haven't eaten breakfast. And it's just sitting here waiting for me to eat it, and it's getting very cold. Okay, enough of that. So yeah, while I was experiencing those positives, my stomach, dudes, like, the symptoms I started experiencing when it comes to stomach issues are what I imagine people with IBS experience, or Crohn's. And I actually did experience these symptoms when I was a teenager, like a preteen to mid-teenager. I had very similar experiences, but they had gone away as I got older. When I got to carnivore, they came back. Most carnivores know that if you eat too much fat, you're gonna get diarrhea. It's gonna just flush through your system. And that's fine, and I was aware of that. And I did have to learn like what my fat max was, or what the signs that I'm eating too much fat is. But usually I was able to keep that in check because your hunger signals just totally change when you're on carnivore. And I've spent years studying intuitive eating and dieting in general. And I was in the anti-diet movement. Like, I was involved in that community for a while. I know about hunger signals, and there is something different that happens when you're eating only meat. And one of the things is that your food just stops tasting good. Like, you won't want to eat it because it won't taste good. For me, if I eat too much fat, I can tell, because things like bacon, they almost have no taste to me. So my first thought was that the stomach issues I was having were just the fat and eating too much fat. And once I mastered that, it'd be fine. But then like a week went by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it wasn't going away. And it didn't matter how much fat I was having. And it wasn't just, sorry for being gross because I'm a woman talking about body things, but like, it wasn't just diarrhea. It was like stomach cramping, that kind of stomach cramping that like you get sweats, you feel like you're gonna pass out. It can take like hours, not hours, that's an exaggeration, but like it feels like hours that you're sitting there with like your body just trying to squeeze all your insides out of you. Again, I've experienced this as a preteen, but I hadn't gone through it as an adult. And I was like, this is not what I should be experiencing. No one's reporting this. They're reporting that this goes away, not comes back. And I was really confused, and I couldn't really find an answer. I could have been more diligent about checking, going on Q&A sessions. All the doctors do Q&A sessions. If you're experiencing issues on carnivore, I highly recommend finding a Q&A session with one of the doctors, or even Steak and Butter Gal, or Kelly Hogan. Like, go to them. They've heard everything. And I didn't go to them to talk about this, and I think it's because I was kind of embarrassed. So I was just like, I'm gonna figure it out on my own. But yeah, don't waste time like I did. It took me 4 months to figure out what was going on. That's 4 months of agony. Feels extreme, but it was a lot. I had a strong will to keep going, which is why the 4 months was like, well, it's just what I had to do. But I could have gotten through it quicker if I had just sucked up my pride and went on one of the Q&As or a couple of the Q&As to get an opinion and try new things and figure out what their thoughts were from the people who've been doing this for years, and they've consulted so many people. I mean, they've been consultants for so many people. Whatever you're experiencing, they've probably heard it before. But yeah, so my game plan was start with a process of elimination. Take all the foods out, add them back in. This is classic. If you're having an issue, most people will say, go beef, salt, and water, add things back in, see what happens. And that's what I did. I made it about a week and a half on beef, salt, and water before I hated it and was, miserable. But that was interesting, and I haven't fully investigated why it happened, but I became beef averse really, really quickly. And if you don't know what beef averse is, or the idea of being averse to a food, it means your body don't want it. It doesn't want to eat it. And what I would find is I could eat beef once a day, and then I couldn't handle it past once a day. There we go. I couldn't handle it past once a day. If I ate it twice a day, I truly could not be in the kitchen near someone cooking beef. If you pulled beef out of the fridge, I'd probably be okay if it was raw, but if it was started cooking, it would make me want to vomit. So I am also not 1 meal a day equipped. I've never practiced or participated in OMAD. It's kind of on my list of things to try as time goes on, but I was not prepared to start eating 1 meal a day. And I found that I could only eat 1 meal if I was doing beef, salt, and water. And so I was getting really, really hungry. And yeah, it was just not sustainable. I made it about a week and a half, started to bring things in. And I brought in bacon because I'm a non-kosher Jew. I brought in bacon, that was fine. Bacon, I had no problems. Oh, and on beef, salt, and water, I had no problems. By the way, beef, salt, and water did work. Even though I was miserably hungry, I didn't have any of the stomach issues. Added in bacon, didn't have any of the stomach issues, and didn't have a fat max that mattered. Like, I could eat as much bacon as I wanted, pounds of bacon, and my stomach could handle the fat, no problem. Brought in chicken, no problem. Brought in fish, no problem. And then I brought in eggs. And by golly, I could do a video on eggs. It's like I could feel my insides clench up when I looked at the pack of eggs. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I am not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic. I pulled out the eggs and I felt my lower intestinal area or whatever, all in there, just clench. And remember, I've done a lot of work in what do things feel like in your body? Are you connected to your body? Again, I could feel it. Something was weird. And I had the eggs and all of the symptoms came back. And I remember I had seen a video from Steak and Butter Gal, and the cover was her holding eggs, and it was something about carnivore mistakes or something. I hadn't watched it. And I remember sitting there in agony after having those eggs, and I went, I should watch that video. And I did, and she talks about, I'm not going to be the most knowledgeable on this, so I'll link in the description her video on eggs, but she talks about people having this issue and it being a histamine issue or something, and it's all about the egg white. So there's something in the egg white that's causing an issue. So some people, herself included, and this woman eats like 12 eggs a day. She has to cook the eggs all the way through, the egg white specifically. The egg yolk she can leave, less cooked, but the egg white has to be cooked all the way through. And then she can eat it. She also mentioned that some people need to walk away from eggs for a couple months, and then when they come back, they're able to eat them. So I am right now on an egg-free, no eggs for a couple months diet. And I'm gonna be honest, everything's great. Like, all my complaints, they're gone. The other day, I was at the table chatting with my dad, and I said, you know how we said we were going to stop doing this after a year? Because, by the way, once I cleared up the egg issue, I was cool. I was like, let's do it for a whole year, bro. And so I'm like, you know, I said we're going to do this for a year. What if we just never stop? Because there's something addictive about how even life becomes. And now I am not a super social person. I'm not going out all the time and dealing with foods outside of my daily routine. I eat a lot of my food at home. If I had a different social life, I might think differently. But for right now, I'm like, this is great. It's easy, it's predictable, and I'm somebody who, I used to cook so much, guys. I mean, I was a vegetarian for a long time. So when you're a vegetarian, most of us learn to cook. And so I would cook elaborate meals. Now it takes me 15 minutes to cook dinner. And I'm just like, this is easy. I don't think about it. And I would actually say going forward, I would like to incorporate seasonings. I started off the whole thing in the beginning as a no seasonings carnivore. I wanted, because Dr. Chafee has been kind of my primary source, and he's a no seasonings, basically beef, salt, and water guy. And so I wanted to start with no seasonings. I have kind of come to the conclusion that me and him differ on the opinion about, he's like, why keep a low dose of poison in your system at all times? I actually think keeping the low dose of the seasonings, having a little bit of tolerance to the plant-based foods is a positive, because I am, even though I don't socialize a lot right now, I do like to socialize. I like to be able to go out with people. I do. Food is still something that I'm not ready to just walk away from, and I don't want to go to people's houses and not be able to eat the food that they made for me. So I would like to, in the future, as I go along, build up a bit of a tolerance to seasonings, to whole foods mainly. Processed foods are a pain, and I review a lot of processed foods on this channel, like a lot of beef jerky. I will occasionally eat lunch meat. I can handle those in very low doses, and I keep them in my system and in my routine because sometimes I'm on the road and eating is just necessary, and the processed food is what you have available. If I one day go OMAD, it probably won't be a big deal. But again, I want to make this very clear. Like, Dr. Chafee is pretty much like my mentor. He doesn't know he's my mentor, but I think most people pick a public figure in this community that they go to as their primary source. Dr. Chafee is pretty much my primary source. And he would be like, bro, why are you keeping all this plant in your body? You're just making yourself sick. For me, at this time, it is wiser for me to keep little bits, low doses of these things in my system so I can still function in society than it is for me not to. I'm not, that sentence kind of got away from me, but I think you get what I'm saying. I'm not ready to deal with the complete cutoff that would happen with my social life and with my on-the-go options. And yeah, we'll see though what happens over time. I feel so in tune with my body now. I would love to say that I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life because I like it so much, but that's so not my personality. I am just such an explorer. I would be very surprised if I was strict carnivore for the rest of my life. I also don't know what hurdles are coming up in the future. I don't know what I'm gonna need to attend to. I'm going to Italy in a couple months. I'll be there for 10 days. I have no idea what carnivore in Italy is gonna look like. So, I'll see where life takes me. But at the 9-month mark, I can say there are days where I never want to go back. And I really, really love this diet. And yeah, my ideal, I was a vegetarian for a long time. The issues with the animals don't just go away. You know, I know that the food sitting next to me, it's not ethically made. And my ideal would probably be moving to kosher meats only, because if we're gonna kill animals, that would be what I see as the ideal situation. Or moving to farming and home farming. You know, I sometimes think about like, oh, are you just gonna have your own farm? I don't know. I don't know if I could kill animals myself. That's weird and moody things to say, but what I'm trying to say is that there are still parts of this diet that are hard for me in terms of my ethical, like, you know, you're eating meat all the time. And I do still deal with when things that aren't meats, when plant foods or processed foods come into my diet, I do get shaken up, and I don't want to just be a pariah. Yeah, pariah, hermit. I don't want to be a hermit who can't be in society. So it's like right now, in this moment, the pros completely outweigh the cons for me. Mostly outweigh the cons for me. 6 months? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So I guess if I'm doing this in 6 months, I'll make another update. But yeah, that's where I'm at today. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna try to make other content about carnivore. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the algorithm likes. We'll see what the audience likes. For now, I'm gonna finish this giant plate of very cold bacon, and I'll tell YouTube to recommend something good for you. If you guys want to support the channel, best thing you can do is comment or watch just another video that YouTube tells you to watch. It gives me credit for being a good creator. That's how it works right now. Anyway, take care, guys. I'll talk to you in another video.